Hey everyone, I'm Nick Eatman, and it's time for the one-on-one interview brought to you by PopSocket. And things are way different this year, and in a lot of ways, especially at the Senior Bowl. It's still going on in Mobile, Alabama, but a lot of changes. So, who better to talk to than Vice President of Player Personnel, Will McClay? And Will's at the Senior Bowl right now in Mobile, and it's not unusual for us to talk to you when you're in Mobile. Usually, we're there. We got some people there, but it's a different setup. Can you just tell us? How are things there in Mobile in this week's Senior Bowl?
It's a unique setting, but once it gets down to the practice and the interviewing of the players and all that stuff, it's what we're accustomed to. It's just the way that the operation of it is taking care of everybody, players and scouts included, from the COVID deal with some of the testing and the different ways that it's set up. But it's at the end of the day, we get to watch football.
I mean, you're probably in some way it's probably even better, right? I mean, there's not a lot of you guys don't love media or hanging around trying to talk to the players. I mean, it seems like you would get a little bit more access than you
I think the
normally
access.
there.
Hello. Yeah. No, I think the access is the same. It's the fact that, there's not as many people running around going, hey, well, what about this? What about that? Or people trying to find jobs. So it's more of a clear view and process of the players, man. We're getting an opportunity. There's 10 of us that were brought down. They only allowed 10 people per staff. So we brought the area scouts and the over-the-top guys and myself. And what we've had the opportunity to do is to watch practice purely without worried about somebody asking you questions or somebody wanting an interview, and just able to focus on the players in football.
You talk about the process of the players being there. A lot of the guys that there was a lot of talk that maybe they wouldn't have the Senior Bowl exactly the same. When you see the guys that are committed to playing and practicing, does it give you a different sense of their commitment to playing? Has it always been the case that the guys that say, no, I want to go down there, I want to compete, just kind of shows what how interested they are in furthering their career?
That's an added feather in their cap. There's so many different environments and reasons why guys don't do anything, do certain things now. Want to take the opportunity to find out more about each player, the reasonings why, the importance of football and, doing all those things. We kind of continue to dig, and each circumstance is different, but it's just great to see guys play and participate. This year's been so different from a college standpoint with schools playing, not playing, guys opting out, opting in, all of those things. So it's digging in and trying to find out that information and just find out more who these guys are.
I think there's a few players, a handful of guys that had opted out from their college season, and then now they're back in practicing this week. When you get guys like that, opt out guys, are you having to scurry back and look at 2019 tape, or is this really put more focus on this week's Senior Bowl because of these guys haven't been playing football in over a year?
We want to take every bit of evidence that we have to find out who the guy is. Our guys did a great job going into the season without knowing what was going to happen with college football, looking at 19 tape, cutting that up, moving forward to the next part and the next part, seeing if they played or they didn't play, and then getting an opportunity to see them move around here, taking into account, hey, if a guy didn't play in the 20 season, where is he at? How soon does it, will he come back? And, all of those things. It's just putting it all together.
For a lot of us, like I just said, not able to go to the Senior Bowl. For you guys, it's kind of it's old hat. You've been there many times, but it is different though this year as far as the location and the facilities. They've moved it, to the college campus. Can you kind of speak to that and how they've really kind of ramped things up from that standpoint?
Yeah, the Senior Bowl's done, and Jim Nagy's done a great job of putting things together. We're over at South Alabama Stadium. It's a new facility. We're in a suite. We can view practice. Just the accommodations there are great. We go over to the convention center. That's where we have the interviews with the players. That's an interesting prospect. It's like speed dating. We get 15 minutes a player. They've got us separated, the table separated. There's social distancing. There's plexiglass up, and we're conducting our business as usual, but there's a little bit more distance, and it's hard to hear some of these guys sometimes through the plexiglass. But we go through our process of asking them questions and just finding out more about them.
What is it about this setting? It seems like it doesn't matter, if it's the last few years or even 15 years or whatever. It seems like every year there's a guy or two coming from the Senior Bowl that you guys end up drafting. I mean, would you say it's a coincidence, or do you feel like you're finding some things out when these interviews or watching them on the field that kind of leads you in that direction?
I think some of it is a coincidence because you know the players going in. I think you reconfirm some of the things that you thought. Again, you get an opportunity to find out more about them. When you think about the draft process, there's all these names, there's all these guys. Everybody's got their opinion of them. Now you get to put your hands on them, and so I think that adds some a little more value to that interaction that you have with them. But it's a culmination of the process. I think that's just added information. The guy was at the Senior Bowl. We didn't just like him because of the Senior Bowl. The Senior Bowl added something to our thoughts.
No, when I've gone before, one of my favorite things is always that small school guy that has been told that, oh, you're good, but your competition wasn't very good. And now he gets a chance to shine in a week where he's going up against Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama guys. What is it for you that you like to see when you're there? Like, what is it about the Senior Bowl practices that kind of stands out the most for you?
It's just seeing the guys compete in a different environment and watching them interact in different ways. Seeing them compete, number one, just seeing the way, now you get an opportunity when you go to a college practice, our scouts, you're going to get bits and pieces and then they kick you out. Well, we get to view the full process from stretch to the end of practice when you call them up. So those are all things that we continue to evaluate on the player, his interactions, the way that he interacts with his teammates. A coach tells him something. What's that? So that's the part that I enjoy the most, is watching the beginning to the end of the practice and then starting to formulate an opinion based off of what was told about the player. Then what we pick up when we have the personal interaction, putting all that together to kind of paint a picture of who the guy is.
Do you have a favorite story? I might be putting you on the spot here, but do you have like a favorite story of a Cowboy player that you guys ended up drafting that maybe right there at the Senior Bowl, whether it be a Zach Martin, Tony Pollard last couple of years. I mean, even DeMarcus Ware way back. I remember. Is there anybody that you can remember that you guys kind of talked about and said, hey, this guy stood out and you guys ended up drafting him?
Big one is Dak Prescott. That's one of my favorites. He was on the other team when we were coaching it at the time, and when you're coaching it, you get a more intimate feel of who the guys are because you're coaching them every day. You're seeing how they're taking things in. You get to spend more time with them. Well, Dak being on the other team, the teams kind of switch personnel, and the coaches get to interview them and the staffs. And we got to spend extra time, and just from that interaction with Dak, watching him at practice, but then after that interaction, that time with him started to tell us more of who he was and just how different he was, and that added more information to the stuff that we had that we felt like, hey, when the time comes, we have an opportunity to pick this guy. He's the right guy.
Yeah, you don't want to be playing against them too much, right? You had to on
Right.
that day, but not that big a deal. One more for you, Will. Like when you do this whole process, last year with Mike McCarthy's first year, trying to figure out, like what the things that he likes as in his staff. You feel like you got a better grasp on what McCarthy and his staff are looking for, or does that really matter much at all? Or are you just saying, hey, we're going to draft the best player and we're going to make it work? Or is it important to kind of know what your staff is kind of seeking?
It's important to know what they're seeking, but at the end of the day, we're looking for good football players. We understand the profile of the different positions, what we're trying to do. And again, it's kind of an ongoing thing. We've been with Jason and that staff for a long amount of time, and there was a better feeling for it. Every instance that we get to talk with Coach McCarthy and his staff, the better those things match. Now they can say they like this, this, and this. Well, we just go through the checklist because we evaluate every player the same. We have a process of going through it. There's certain things that we look for every position. It's a checklist. If this guy hits 9 of 10, hey, it's a better fit. If it's 8 of 10, our objective is to say what the guy can do and what are his areas of concern, his weaknesses. And we give that information to the coaches and to Jerry and Steven as we go through it, and that's how we pick our players.
All right. Well, Will, I appreciate it. I think I've talked to you like 4 times since the summer, and it's either been virtually or in like New York or Minnesota or something like that. It's just been a weird world that we're in. But appreciate you joining us here. I know you're busy. You guys be safe heading back to Dallas.
All right. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right. That's Will McClay, Vice President of Player Personnel.